Ooh, whoa, whoa. Will this stay up? We shut. Ooh, no. Behave. All right, now I'm going to tweet out that this is happening because it hasn't happened for a while. So, um, shoot. Okay. Cooperate, internet. Why don't you? YouTube's layout is weird now in the sense that like I don't entirely know where I where to find like my actual stuff, like the channel. Hey, um, shoot. Um, let's see. Where is? I just want to get to like. There we go. Okay, view channel. Okay, here we go. Good Lord. Um, my room is a mess. I don't really care because I'm at a point where, I've got so much other stuff going on that cleaning is not a huge priority to me. Surprise unplanned live stream. Come hang out if you have the time. All right. So, yeah, this is just me sort of hanging out, doing my work. And so, funny story, I have a side hustle now, a second job, writing car auction listings, which is really fun. Because there are editorial standards by which you have to abide, and it's very important, but it also helps me to understand in the grand scheme of things of how it's supposed to work when you're trying to sell a car, because there are a lot of things that are intuitive that don't really come intuitively to people when they're trying to sell a car. So like the photos, you would think that people would know by now that you really want even lighting. You don't want shadows. You don't want glare. You want the car to be full frame in the photo. But it's apparently not something that comes natural to all that many people. And I think one of the difficulties is ascertaining, like one of the difficulties on my end, not even talking about like what the potential seller would do. But one of the difficulties on my end is simply that I need to be able to figure out why or what constitutes a value add. So if I have, you know, I don't know, like an Audi with a sport differential, I feel like the web or the type of oh well, thank you, Stony Lonesome, that's very sweet. Simon, I can't say the website right now, but pretty soon I'll be able to. Actually probably tonight maybe. But so because there may be something dropping that from me on that website, but basically the say I have, I don't know, like a Honda Civic Type R, you know, do I mention every single thing? Oh, my mom tells me that all the time, Kabir, that I need tints on my glasses, but um, so the thing is, if I have a Honda Civic Type R, something along those lines, do you have this sort of goal of crafting a listing such that you want it to include everything that that car would have? Or do you want to just, so like anyone who would bid on that car probably already knows certain things that are on it, or else they wouldn't really be bidding on it. Like, I don't know sometimes it's having to figure out the balance between um, knowing when to try to sell people on a car, but while using objective voice, because you can't really like talk about this being the greatest car ever or whatever. But and it's the balance between using that objective voice, but also trying to figure out what it is that people actually want to know about this car, because not everyone who bids on a certain car is going to want or is going to know everything about that car already. But by the same token, not everybody who bids on a certain car is going to be completely clueless about it either. So you want to avoid being redundant in the listing of information, because if it's you only have so many different points at which you can use to kind of explain yourself, and you don't want to waste a bullet point trying to sort of uh you know explain things that people already know. So yeah. um The one Kia says Doug DeMuro has discussed the challenge of adding more copywriters to cars and bids who can write the listing in his voice. How difficult was it to adapt your innate articulation to the site standard? Well, I mean, I'm not saying necessarily that that's where I'm writing, but in terms of trying to match the voice or just the editorial standards of a person or a site in general, it's about internalizing um, the language, that we use, or that I would use personally, just because the only way that you're going to get better at it's the same thing with like writing for anything really, because the only way that you get better at it is by reading more of it, and the more you read, the more you start to internalize that voice, and it becomes second nature to you. But by the same token, you don't want to go so far to the other side that you lose your own voice. um Hell yeah, Mark. And hell yeah, Dylan. um Simon says you have to write the general description, or also about the specific car sold in question. Do you have to talk to the seller? Yeah, I do. And what's funny is that's what I do with RCR also. Like, in order for me to write a review, or my half of a review of a review, tongue tied, I need to talk to the owner. And the things that I usually ask, this is my RCR notebook right here, AMC Eagles sticker. And the things that I usually ask are like, okay, so uh, engine displacement, transmission, are there any mods? Are there any major repairs? What's the fuel economy in your experience? What brought you to this car? What's your story, and what are any other little additional things that if you were watching a video about this car, you would want them to mention? Because not every video mentions every thing that someone who owns that car or someone in the market for that car would necessarily want to know. Because I understand that like RCR is not always meant to be informative in the way that like it's a show for if you want to get a car and this is how you'll figure out whether or not to get it. We're not kind of like a consumer report type of show. We are sort of just analyzing cars from a socio-cultural standpoint while also talking about its merits as a vehicle. But it's also something where I think it's easy to forget that you still have to talk about the car, right? So when we talk about like the driving impressions and the handling characteristics, that's all Brian. I'm mostly like history and jokes. Brian is like driving impressions and jokes, and sometimes there's stuff overlaps, sometimes it doesn't. But it's something where I think we kind of strike a nice balance. But for Race to the Bottom, it's like everything is me. And so there's a little bit more pressure on there to say something that maybe Brian hasn't already said, and maybe say something that is interesting. Like, for instance, for an upcoming video, and I'll just share it with you guys because we're friends. So, remember, I think I did this for the sob. I did a fable, the story of Arlo Baker. People seem to like that. And for this next one, I have another fable that I made up about a seamstress who becomes a queen. So it's a parable about living. I forgot to put it on Do Not Disturb. Fun. So let's go over here and do that. Wonderful. All right. So it's a parable about essentially not taking for granted that your life is boring, because sometimes a boring life is all someone really needs, you know. So excitement and adventure is cool, but it's not sustainable as a constant, you know. Sometimes you'll end up wishing and sort of looking back with fondness on a simpler life. You have celebrities do it all the time, you know, kind of missing what it was like before they were famous and when they could just go to the store and have a normal life. So in the fable, oh, Matt R, good to see you. That was a terrible Australian accent. I'm sorry. But yeah, so basically, as it goes, here's a story. Once upon a time in the faraway kingdom of Arnott's, magical kingdom, there was a seamstress, and she was married to a blacksmith who was also a scholar, you know, taught himself to read. Really great dude. And essentially they wanted, this seamstress was wondering all her life what it would be like to be a queen, to be royalty, because she didn't love her boring life. She loved her husband. She loved aspects of their life together. She didn't love her life. She was envious of royalty. And so anyway, one day the king dies. The king has no heirs whatsoever. And so it's up to the nobleman to pick a new king. The seamstress, meanwhile, she's run out of like fabric or cotton or whatever, so she goes into the grove to get the cotton. In this world, we're just going to say cotton grows in a grove. And in the grove, she finds a cabin where it's said that this terrible sorcerer lives, that he once was a prince in the heavens who was cast out and exiled to this 40-yard grove. And the seamstress talks to him, and she's like, oh, whoops, I didn't mean to intrude. I shouldn't be here. I'm going to leave now because, you know, you have a bad reputation. Don't want any of the bad stuff to, you know, whatever. He's like, no, don't go anywhere. Like, you look like you need something, right? So just talk to me. Tell me what you need. And she's like, well, I wish that my husband could be chosen as the new king, so that then I could be the queen and we could have a better life. And so the sorcerer is like, I can do that for you. You just have to offer me something in return. And so she's like, well, I don't know. I'll worship you. Like, I'll just forget about religion and all of my worship goes to you. He's like, okay, done. Next day, the king, it's discovered that he's some wild 13th cousin, twice removed from the king. So he has a claim and he's made the king. And for a couple of years, everything is wonderful. You know, the seamstress gets exactly the life that she wants, with all the servants and all the nice stuff. And except her husband is around less because he's so busy kind of lording over the kingdom. And, you know, she's Uh, but hey, they have kids. They have five healthy sons, great sons who are growing up big and strong, until one day a plague hits that begins to affect the entire kingdom. People are dying left and right. And so she goes back to the sorcerer and says, my sons are sick. My husband is sick. I'm scared what's going to happen. Please let them live and help them survive this plague. And so the sorcerer says, okay, yeah, I can do that, but what are you willing to offer me in return? It's like, well, I already worship you, but if you heal my sons and my husband, I will make everyone else in the kingdom worship you too. And so he's like, great deal, done. And so the sons and the husband, they all recover. And eventually, the kingdom goes to war with a neighboring kingdom. The husband and the sons all go off to war. They all go to fight. And the queen is completely distressed because what should have been a simple conflict balloons out of control. And now, they could actually lose this thing and fall under the dominion of a rival kingdom. So eventually, she goes back to the sorcerer again and says, help us win this war. Let us win this war. And he says, what are you willing to offer me? And so she says, you can have my soul, my entire soul. And he's like, wow, never been offered a soul before. Okay, sure, done. And so the kingdom of Arnitz wins the war. But her sons and husband die in the process. And so the queen is left alone to rule the kingdom. And without any of her family, everything that she has feels hollow to her, and all she does is wish that she could have her old life back again. But that's not possible, because for as powerful as the sorcerer is, he can't time travel, he can't undo what's already been done. And so she goes to the sorcerer one last time and says, make me like you. Like, just make me powerful like you. And he's like, what are you willing to offer me? Well, I worshipped you. I had all of my kingdom worship you. I gave you my soul. So I will give you the souls of everyone in my kingdom. All of them. He's like, for real? It's like, yeah, I'm the queen. I can do that. The charter gives me dominion over all the souls of my subjects. And he says, okay. And snaps his fingers, and the queen has all the same powers that the sorcerer has. And the first thing she does is she rips the sorcerer's throat out and kills him. And he's dead, like ripped from existence, as if he's not even on this plane anymore. He's gone, he's done, he's dead. And now the queen is the most powerful person in the kingdom, but even with all her power, she can't undo what's already been done. And so she tries to create a new family. She tries to create new, kingdoms, new everything. But at the end of the day, all she really wants is to go back to when she was just a seamstress and her husband was just a blacksmith who liked to read a lot. And she wanted to go back to where she could just have kids again and be a mother and have nothing more in her life than that. The joy of a simple life. But she couldn't have that anymore. And so now she's cursed to roam the land forever with this power that she can't really use to create what was lost because she took all that for granted. And so the moral of the story is that, the grass isn't always greener, and that essentially don't take your life for granted just because it's not exciting. That there are good things within the boring, and that sometimes the boring itself is the good. And this is kind of how I feel about my Camry, in that it's not exciting, but I like that it's boring, because boring means there aren't any problems. Boring means like I'm free to think about other things and can worry a little less. Now, obviously, I have to like trim that story a lot because it's laying a whole lot of pipe to get to a very simplistic point, but still, yeah. No, Will. Yeah, it's true. She should have just like doubled the resources. Oh, wait, another moderator just handled that. Oh, don't give me that. Don't give me that. I'm the mod here. All right, so there were some questions up there. I don't know why I wasted all your time with that story. But here we go. Was there ever a car, Simon asks, was there ever a car you wish to re-review or maybe even drive because you didn't get to previously? Honestly, I kind of wish that I would have gotten a better example of the GMC Sierra. I was harsh on that truck in a way that was probably overdoing it, but I just really didn't like that truck. And I feel like if I had another, like a cleaner model, that I probably would have. I probably would have liked it a lot, actually, because it would have had all the things that were sort of necessary to be likable. So, yeah, that would kind of be the one. Uh, let's see. Did Ryan asked, did Red Betty get sold to a loving new owner, or did it get sent to the scrapyard? Loving new owner. I still have to have dinner with that guy. I promised him like we'd go grab dinner, talk about Betty, talk about cars and stuff again. He's a really nice guy, has a great family. I could not have been more happy to have Betty go to someone who actually cared to bring her back up to a good standard. And, you know, and for whom, and to go to a driver for whom, like, Betty would effectively serve the same function as it did for me emotionally. So, yeah, it's meaningful. But yeah, hello to everyone joining. Welcome, welcome. If you have any questions and super chat is an option, feel free to send one. I'm happy to I'm happy to have coffee money, but I will answer free questions. I don't really. I'm not going to gatekeep and make it like that. So whatever. The Tavares Porsche review really drove home the fact that post-pandemic, the world only really exists for rich people anymore, and regular people might as well do the thing. I mean, I was talking with this the other day with my best friend. She was mentioning how sort of, I don't know, like, you can't, anything that you want to do, there is nothing in the world that any of us can do that doesn't require money. Or, okay, I guess you can go to a park, but even then, like, if it's not within walking distance, you're driving there. If you're driving there, you're spending gas. Eventually, you'll need to fill up, and gas is not exactly cheap. But, sorry, I had to adjust my thing there. But it's also something where I think people kind of overstate it in some ways. Like, not everything you do has to cost money. Like, one of my favorite things to do, literally since I was in high school, is to walk from wherever my current place of residence is to a hub of commerce. So in my case, I walk to a Target and I walk around. I don't buy anything. I'm literally just a mall rat. But for me, that's almost like an adventure, you know? And I just, that's always been something I did. When I was a kid, I would walk to the mall with my big, thick book of CDs and my CD player and my leather jacket, and I just walk around listening to Stunt by Bare Naked Ladies or whatever mixtape and or mix CD. And eventually I would sort of just get to a point where that would be my entire Friday night. And then I would run into other people while I was there and we'd form a crew. And then that would be the adventure. And I wouldn't have to spend any money because I'd just be surrounded by other people, sort of experiencing this world of commerce, you know. And thank you so much for the super chat, Will. I really wasn't trying to guilt trip anyone. I was just trying to say like, hey, super chats are available. But if you just post a question in the regular chat, like I'll answer it there too. The super chat is there if you're feeling like especially generous. And yeah. So Brittany Morgan, are you a football fan? No. Well, okay. I won't say that I'm not a fan of football. I just don't really follow it that much because if I'm with my family, we'll watch football sometimes. My brother-in-law and my brother are the football fans. But for me personally, like, it's kind of boring for me in the sense that, like, an American broadcast of a football game, I think it has something like 11 minutes of actual football in it. And the rest of it is just like stop and start ads and checking in with the round table or whatever. And it's just not exciting to me. Of course, the irony is that, like, I've been a fan of pro wrestling my entire life. My grandfather was a pro wrestler in Puerto Rico, and I have been into just all professional wrestling. And if it exists for consumption, like, absolutely. What team do I kind of like? Well, being local, I have no choice but to love the Eagles. And I do find it ironic that the one time the Eagles win the Super Bowl is when I'm out of the country. Like I just didn't think that it would ever happen. And I figured maybe me not being in the country was a good luck charm. It was when Brian and I went to New Zealand in 2018. Esker Outcome. You guys haven't done a podcast in a while. Is it just because your schedules don't work well enough to do one? It's multiple reasons. The big one is the schedule. Because like Brian and I want to do other things. That doesn't mean we don't want to do RCR. We do. We just want to do other things with our time. And what we were finding is that this was all we were doing. All we were doing is staying inside editing and writing all day, or doing podcasts or doing live streams. And it becomes taxing mentally when that's all you're doing and you don't get to do other things. And, you know, the podcast wasn't like this big successful thing to where we could justify continuing going out of our way to do it. And so we're just like, it'll be a thing that we do when we get the chance to do it, but we're not going to be on a schedule about it, you know? And unfortunately that means the podcast is more or less over, outside of when we feel like sort of doing it. So yeah, that's more or less what we, why. Ryan Rink, thank you for $5. My 360,000 mile 91 MR2 has now lost compression in 2 cylinders. Oh, I am so sorry to hear that. Barely drives and gets horrible MPG. I'm hoping to have a friend to help rebuild. Wow, send me a photo of that at some point. I mean, like, that is really fantastic mileage. I mean, I'm just shocked that, well, I shouldn't be shocked, but I am shocked that an MR2 would run for that long. But I mean, in a lot of ways, the MR2 is sort of a progenitor to the comeback of the Roadster. Although okay, is the MR2 the one, do you believe that the resurgence of the Roadster is attributable solely to the Miata, or is it a combination of technological advancements that and engineering advancements that other companies made over the course of the 80s going into the 90s, including the MR2, which I don't think is really like classifiable as a roadster, but it's like got that same sort of DNA that made the Miata such a smashing success. I don't know. Let me know what you think. But let's see. There were some questions up here that I missed. So the reason you were satisfied with the Camry, well, first of all, Rat Feet, how are you? I'm doing very well. I was getting over like a depressive episode, and I think it was my first real instance of seasonal affective disorder. I haven't been diagnosed with that, but I cannot find any reason for why I felt so bad for no other reason, unless I'm like undiagnosed with something else like bipolar. I don't know. I have an anxiety disorder, and I have had since I was a teenager, that I've been under treatment for, and it's a constant battle all the time. But I'm doing my best. Mm, mm. Ah, but yeah. But thank you for asking. The reason you were, Will says, Noodles Extra MSG says, the reason you are satisfied with the Camry is why you will enjoy each future incremental upgrade. If you chase the newest and shiny and you end up with a Tucson, you've been warned. Fair point. Fair point, Will. Mark Johnson, I live in Washington State, so you probably won't be able to get to mine, but if you can, get your hands on a second-gen CRV with a manual for a review. The picnic table has a hole in the middle for umbrellas. Funny you should bring up that car. That's all I'll say. Hypothetical question. Which one of your grad professors at Kutztown University would have the least negative reaction to Chat GPT and LLMs in general? I perceive a backlash in student-facing academia. I don't know that any of my professors would be anything less than horrified at the potential that Chat GPT could be used in an academic setting. I mean, I'm sure they're coming out with protocols to identify AI generated content in an academic setting, the same way that they have those protocols in place to identify plagiarism. But by the same token, it's something that is going to become more pervasive and insidious over time, because it suddenly takes all the work out of work, you know? And so I don't think any of my professors that I studied under would have anything less than a completely negative reaction. I would be genuinely surprised. Yeah. Well, but I mean, like, it's an English department, you know, of course they're going to be against like AI generated writing more than probably any other department, you know? Brent Luck. Hi, Roman. I wanted to take a moment to thank you for your role in making RCR what it is today. Love hearing from and laughing at Brian's parts, but wouldn't be the same without you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Brent. Really do. Let's see. Let's scroll down. Ryan says, I love the MR2 so much, I don't want to replace it with something else, and I don't want to buy something just to end up not enjoying it. Exactly. Like life, here's the thing, is people say that everything that you do in life needs to be the most responsible thing that you can do in a given moment. But maybe it's just an ad hoc justification for reckless behavior or bad decision making. But like, at what point do you get to start enjoying life? You know, there are so many people that, you know, they sort of prevent themselves from living life on the premise that they'll get to live it when they retire. That retirement is when you get to be foolish. Or, you know, the two times you really get to be foolish is like right after college when you don't have the money to travel, but fuck it, you do it anyway. Or when you're retired and, you know, you're settled. But you have to find a compromise in there. Like, yes, be responsible, but have fun within the parameters of responsibility, because you can't spend your whole life, you know, preparing for a moment that you might never get to. And I know that's morbid, but I'm tired of reading so many stories about people who save up for retirement and meagerly get by just so that they could eventually have their big vacation and all their fun when they retire. And then they pass away from like a stroke or a heart attack or cancer, God forbid. And they they're just gone. All of that saving was for nothing. And someone in their job comes with a box and clears out their desk. And then a week later, there's another person in that desk. That person then perpetuates the cycle of not really living their life because they're sat at a desk trying to make the money so that they can then enjoy their life at some nebulous point in the future when they retire. And I understand, yes, not everybody has the freedom to just say, screw it. Like, I'm not going to put this trip off any longer. I understand that a lot of people are literally paycheck to paycheck. And that's what I mean by like finding moments of joy and freedom within the parameters of responsibility, of finding things like, for me, enjoying my life. It's the dumbest I'm going to tell you the dumbest thing in the world for someone my age to enjoy life. But one of the things that makes me happy is, and I have a bunch of the videos saved so that I can watch them at night, but I look forward to the end of the night when I get to go in bed after I've prepared my CPAP machine, said all my prayers, brushed my teeth, maybe took a shower, I don't know. Opening my phone, opening TikTok and watching video after video of Reddit stories projected over Minecraft parkour. Fucking love it. Makes me happy. It's a dumb thing. It makes me happy. It doesn't cost me anything. Tonight, I go to dinner at my sister's. It's family dinner night. I love that. I love that my sister lives here now and in this like general area and not, count like another state away. Like all my nieces and all my nephews are here. The family's here. And I love that about my life. Like my struggle has been to find positivity in situations where it feels like positivity is as fleeting as, when you're a kid and you're breathing on the window, like, and it just evaporates. It seems like happiness can be that way, but I don't want to be someone who just accepts that I'll never be happy, because I will be happy and I'll have bad times. Of course, we're all going to have bad times, but I don't want to pretend that the struggle is all there is, because it's not, The gaming ace. I feel like your relationship with Betty is like mine with my old Volvo. Some days I want to sell her, but I don't want her to go to someone I don't trust to take care of her properly. Um, I totally get it. I probably could have gotten more money for Betty just going to whoever offered the most. Actually, I know I could have. I had an offer for it. Um, but the person, God bless him, he was just going to flip her again. And a really good guy, like one of the nicest guys. He was there for me in a really hard time in my life. That is not a judgment on him at all. But I ended up taking a lower amount of money to see that Betty went to a home with someone who like actually really like wanted her, really cared, wanted to keep her, wanted to bring her, wanted to restore her, because then I would feel better about it, because there is an emotional component there that you can't really overlook, or that's hard to overlook, Um, no joke, I think the resurgence of the MR2 is because of enthusiasts like you and Brian really showing it off. If the MR2 stuck around during the social media age, it would probably be as successful as the Miata. Probably, yeah. I would think so. It has an iconic design at the very least. I love the look of the MR2, more than most cars that I've ever come across. Um, Yeah, absolutely. Dylan H. So I'm 21. My first car was a 1999 Volvo V70. I absolutely love the thing. I traded it at a dealer for a 2011 Lexus GS 350, and I regret it. I don't know what happened to it, and I wish I had it back. I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, I would think that I would love a Lexus GS 350, but then I understand that not everybody, people have different needs and requirements for cars to make them happy. And so I respect everyone's needs when they say what it is they require a car to do for them. Let's see. Will your and Nick revisit topics you guys did? Will Brian and I revisit topics we discussed in the radio days or is it Lost Media? I posted an old episode of our KU car show on the regular car reviews SoundCloud that I never check anymore. Just look up regular car reviews on SoundCloud. And that's the only episode that I had of it from back in the day. And it is like, it's proto RCR. So I don't think there's anything necessarily that you would be getting from the show that you wouldn't have already gotten from RCR in terms of topics or banter. Other than that, I wasn't comfortable talking on mic yet, the way that I sort of am now. And so it gets a little awkward, I think. But it's interesting, at least, as an artifact of the history of what RCR would eventually become. Because by that point, Brian was already doing RCR, but I wasn't yet. And he eventually brought me on after the Miata review that exploded. The Miata didn't explode, just the review did. Got popular. But yeah. Um, yeah, the Tucson before the current gen isn't bad. People complained about it being too small for even a compact, but it was the right size. Huh, very Goldilocks. Uh, let's see. Ryan Rink. I don't think the MR2 has anything to do with the resurgence of the Roadster. I think the Miata did that all by itself. I think the Miata was so good it actually killed the MR2. Interesting. Brittany Morgan, are you streaming because you're bored? That's part of it. I'm just getting caught up on old work, and so that's part of it. Can we get a prayer? I am going through a rough time. I mean, I'll add you to mine tonight. But yeah. Hi Dylan, how you doing? Oh, different Dylan than the one ahead. Oh, whoops. Sorry, it's hard to scroll when I'm on my phone, and I can't. I don't know. It's just very difficult. Oh, hey, $2. Is $2 enough to bump Korea off Race to the Bottom? uh, I'm trying to get a more varied set of cars because in the early days of Race to the Bottom, they were all SUVs. And unfortunately, the one for next Monday, not this coming Monday, but the Monday after, is another SUV. But it's an SUV that we've never done before on RCR. And, you know, it's something where, you know, we're going to be gradually going back to like the holiday season and January was when we did a lot of like fancy cars that we wouldn't normally do. And now we're going back to like some weird and boring, not boring, but you know, like regular cars again. And so, but I wanted Race to the Bottom even within the context of being a show about finding bad cars to not necessarily rule out a really nice car potentially being bad. So I still wanted to give stuff like, you know, Tavarish's McLaren build a chance to either prove me right or wrong. And so I don't know. Like I still feel like I'm searching and searching to find a car that will have no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Um, On the subject of Race to the Bottom, and this is in no way a hint as to what the next vehicle is, but the owners of the car, or owner and his son, gave me this wonderful, wonderful hardcover book, The Illustrated History of Ford. I can't remember being so touched by a gift, except for the one metal keychain that a fan in the UK made and presented to me, and it's been on my key ring ever since. So like 8 years now, 7 years, 7 or 8 years, whatever. But it was very meaningful to me. But yes, there's just so much great stuff in this book. I'm so grateful for them giving it to me. Announcement. We are once again, and let me pull up Brian's Twitter so I can confirm the date. But just so everyone knows, we are once again doing the RCR meet. We are doing that in where is it? There we go. Okay, we are doing it at the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center again, in conjunction with the Too Many Games convention. So they are allowing us to use the lot to host a car meet. And this is big because Radwood is leaving the Northeast. So if you want to see weird throwback stuff, come to the RCR car meet on Saturday, June 29th from 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. And I know those are really early hours, but those are the hours we got. And so if you have to come stay in the hotel, there are a bunch of hotels around the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center. I'm sure they would love the business if you came and just made a sleepover of it. There were some people who like left at like 2 or 3 in the morning to make the drive to be there at 8:30. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I had so much fun, and a lot of the other people there did too. If you think you can win one of Brian's paper plate awards, come on down. I mean, like, you'll see what those are if you look up my video from, I think, back in July of the RCR car meet. It was great getting to meet everybody. I was so grateful that I got to hang out with so many wonderful people. It was so unique. But yeah, let's see. Ryan. I think people have always had a desire for sports cars. In the 70s and 80s had a dying off of roadsters because U.S. regulation was warning of no longer allowing convertibles, thus T-Top MR2. Interesting. Hi, Dylan. How you doing? Nesman 321. I love my 1997 Volvo 850 T5. What is this TikTok style live? So it's weird. My webcam on my computer doesn't work right now, so I have to do it on my phone. But if I like YouTube live stream is not allowing me to film in landscape mode. It would just tilt everything, and then you'd still get the bars on the side. It's really weird. So I'm just doing it this way. It's not great. It's not ideal. It is what it is. But yeah. I can't really I don't know. Can I do a motivational quote? You can do whatever you want. Uwu. Say uwu. Saving to have a ton of money strictly post-mortem is such a boomer thing, to be honest. Oh. Let's see. No, MR2 snap oversteer killed all prospective buyers. Retire? Ain't nobody affording that. Man, I am really far behind on the comments. The problem is we've been drilled since childhood to defer happiness in order to get a larger reward, reliability of the company, and the like. Millennials onward have started to see the shenanigans. True story. Serious question. How do you maintain a relationship with a CPAP machine? So, basically, you might have been able to see it in a lot of videos, and my face is still healing. But when I got the CPAP machine, it created a host of skin problems with me because I have this wraparound mask, right? Um, and it was very awkward because in order to prevent any like leakages, I had to seal it really tightly. It didn't occur to me that I could just buy a bunch of really cheap socks, cut out the heel, cut out the toe, and create a wraparound for my mask. I did that, and within a week, like all of my breakouts stopped, and now I'm just dealing with the scarring. It's embarrassing to be an adult and have acne that bad, but um, that's how I maintain the relationship because otherwise I wouldn't be able to keep doing it because I wouldn't be able to show my face in public because I would just be like more zit than man at that point. And so I don't know. Like it's just something that I keep trying to do, but I am getting great sleep and becoming way more productive. The only thing is that I need to I don't know, for as productive as I'm being, the having a second job writing auction listings is wonderful. Wouldn't change a thing. But I do wish there were more hours in the day so I could work more on RCR stories just because there's a video that I thought would be done super fast and now it's I started it in June and now it's February and I'm not even done with the script yet and I really wish that I could provide you guys with an RCR story soon, but I don't know when it will be. uh, I'm just prioritizing things in a different way. Um, let's see. Well, my favorite thing to do in the evenings is to sit on the couch in the dark and watch YouTube reviews of corporate grade computer equipment. It's very entertaining to me and a great way to unwind. I also like watching B. Dylan Hollis on YouTube. That sounds great. I listen to YouTube to fall asleep too. I listen to like old reviews by Spoony One, or my favorite video is Metal Gear Solid 4 was a mistake by Steak Bentley. I've watched that video maybe like 100 times to fall asleep. More than that, way more than that, actually. Uh, it has almost 4 million views. I'm probably like half a million of them. But yeah, yeah. We love you, Roman. I love you too. Are you gay? No, I am not. But support to all those who are. I was like raised by a gay man. That he was like the main male influence in my life, and so I'll always be thankful for that. Is a second gen final gen S40 a smart purchase for a used, small, economical, sporty luxury sedan? I actually had a friend who's looking into Volvos, and I think I mentioned like getting an S40 to him because that was like one of the options on the table, and I'm like, why not if you can afford it? And it's not like this huge overhead, at least from what I know about it, which might admittedly be wrong. I always allow for that. But yeah, I would say yes. Classic for real. But yeah, Ryan adds that I don't think the MR2 was ever going to compete well with the Miata existing because the MR2 was always going to be much more expensive than the Miata when new. Fair point. And it didn't last as long. So I guess that's borne out. Joker TV, you remind me of my girlfriend. Thank you, I think. If it wasn't obvious from my first question comment, I've been going through a rough time too, but I'm hanging in there anyway. Please hang in there. It's it's it can be hard, but just stay here, be here, fight with all of us, and be a part of this big old world with us because I promise it's better to have you here. Not that you're saying you're going to do anything. I'm just saying, like, for as dark as things can get, um, there's just as much potential for things to go completely upward in the other direction towards light. So hold on to that. Can you say happy to Hugh? Happy to Hugh? Happy to Hugh? $2 enough to crown Subaru Impossible Brew Outback R2B winner. I don't know what that means. But thank you for the super chat. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. Hello, I from Russia. Hey, hey, I saw something in your closet. I have a lot of things in my closet. Um, got a bunch of shoes, got a bunch of racks. I have things that look like things that are things that look like adult toys that aren't like that vacuum cleaner that looks like, you know, I mean, I guess it would suck. Um, let's see. Seriously, the Outback is the worst car you can buy post Dodge Avenger of exactly nothing. Um, is America real? Surprisingly, yes. Can you ask Brian if he'll re-upload the Avenger video? He said he wouldn't. Somebody else on YouTube already uploaded it. Um, we don't we don't actually care about that. As long as they're not uploading the videos that actually make us like money, I don't think Brian actually cares. Um, but yeah, uh, yeah, yeah, it is cool. Classic for real. It really is. Um, let's see. RCR stories, RCR's beginnings. I actually thought about that as an April Fool's video, or the other one was like RCR stories, the history of Kunkelman Chevrolet, and give like the whole backstory. I don't know. Uh, oh, Matto, thank you so much. 159.99 Australia. I have no idea how much that is in US money, but I appreciate you so much for doing it. I don't even know how to start being grateful for that. I mean, other than to just say thank you. Like, holy shit. I don't wow. Okay. Wow. That's just like literally blew my mind. Like, seriously, holy shit. Thank you, Matto. We need to hop on like Zoom at some point again and talk about the Australia trip because this is like going to be the highlight of my year. I'm looking so forward to it. I really am. Um, the RCR Australia. Uh, so yeah. Glad to know I'm not the only one to listen to YouTube to fall asleep. I love listening to Accursed Farms awake and asleep. Yeah, YouTube is absolutely all about it. About like helping people fall asleep just from the sheer volume of like ambient noise channels. Um, let's see. You're nice. Uh, do you like Taylor Swift? I mean, I went to school with her, so I feel like I'm supposed to. Um, it's funny. Like, I made this joke on the Smoking Tire podcast once where I said that like when people said that Taylor Swift was leaving our area to go try and make it in Nashville, that I said that there was no way that that was going to happen. That oh, she's going to fail. And what's funny is like I didn't actually say that, but I said it on the podcast as if I had said it because I thought this is how delusional I was back then. I thought that if I told a story where I came out of it looking like an asshole who was wrong about something, that people would like me more. Um, but when people said, "Oh, Taylor's moving to Nashville," like I just didn't really have a reaction because I didn't really know her like that. Like I knew of her, but like my high school was a junior senior high. So all the grades were in a building. So it was 7 through 12. So I was already like just about to leave when she did, because like she would have been in like seventh grade when I was a senior. Like we would have had no meaningful interaction except for the fact that we were both in the Sound of Music together. And so she was like the second oldest Von Trapp. And so like I've spoken to her before as part of being in a play with her, but like I don't actually have any meaningful connection to her or like meaningful relationship with her. Um, I literally just knew her and knew about her. I knew her and I knew about her, but like I didn't know her. Like I couldn't tell you anything about her. There are so many people in my area that have Taylor Swift stories that I don't. Like it's almost like a running gag in this area of like everybody has a Taylor Swift story. The same way like everybody has a Bam Margera story. Like Brian has a Bam Margera story. I don't. Like I never met the guy. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of yeah. I mean, she's the most famous person to ever come out of like Berks County. That's just it's wild to me, and I don't know that anybody more famous than her will ever come out of Berks County. So, um, how is the Toyota treating you? Very well. Very happy with it. Oh, that's 104 US dollars. Well, that is fantastic. That is a lot of coffee. Who is my favorite artist? I have a lot. I don't know if you mean musician or like art. If you mean musician, like, I mean, it really is impossible. As far as like just regular art, I love Keith Haring. My brother loves Keith Haring too. When it comes to music, I love Fleetwood Mac, Elliott Smith. He's one of my favorites. I don't know. Like, there are too many to name. Nobuo Uematsu, composer of the Final Fantasy series. Uh, Love it. Um, Roman, you sound like you're underwater on the mic. Can you clear it up? I don't know how. Maybe it's just like my phone being weird, and not knowing how to do any of this. Um, but yeah. Uh, from one Nick to another, keep doing you. Really enjoying seeing you as you get more confident with your videos. Your progress shows. Um, Thank you. That actually that means a lot. It really does, and I really appreciate you saying it. Um, let's see. Classic for real. Sorry, I mean, is $2 enough to crown the Outback race to the bottom winner? Trying to fit it into $2 super care. Oh, you were trying to fit it into the super chat limit. Um, the race to the bottom. I actually have an offer for an Outback, or no, I have an offer for a Forester, but I don't know if I can make the date work. Um, if someone offers me an Outback that's like really bad, like I just want to I want to give it a shot. Um, I really do. But yeah. Um, Will asks, is next year's RCR car meet confirmed? Yeah, totally. Last Saturday in June at the Too Many Games Festival from 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Or is it 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m.? It's one of the two. Um, Jake, it seems like sometimes you go after the vehicle owners as much or as more than the car in the reviews. What determines when you pivot like that? Um, well, first, I'll just say roar or rar, like that person is asking me to. I don't know if they're a bot or not, but I just like making people happy. I don't know. So what determines that is generally because I don't think like I don't mean to, or at least I don't in my half of the script, mean to go in on the specific owner whose car we're reviewing. I like to keep it more like general. Like we essentially create a straw man and set that straw man on fire. Like we create a hypothetical owner that we're then making fun of. That we feel fits into the archetype of the type of person who would drive a car like that, while not necessarily talking about the specific person who drives that car who came to offer us their car for review. The pivot usually comes from when you can't separate the car from the type of person who drives it, because it's all part of the same continuity of um, socio-cultural standings in the car community of like this is what the car represents, this is what it signifies, this is what its merits are, and this is what its shortcomings are. And so in that sense, like I always find it interesting when people kind of bring us cars that we're allowed to go full negative on, because we usually ask for permission, like, hey, just so you know, before we review your car, we need to know if you're okay with us being negative about it, because some people can be sensitive about that type of thing. But yeah, um, I guess I'll wrap this up in the next 10 minutes if anyone has any other questions they want to ask. For now, I'm just mostly still doing worky things. I have to get started writing the next race to the bottom so that I can then start editing the next race to the bottom. If you dig a 6-foot hole, how deep is the hole? Around 20 feet, quoted by Beetlejuice. Um, was it? I do find it interesting that they went the most obvious route for the sequel and just called it Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. It's kind of like what they should have done for Now You See Me by calling the sequel Now You Don't. But no, we're Hollywood. We need to call things Now You See Me too, or else people won't know that it's a sequel to Now You See Me. Um, has anyone ever come back to you unhappy after a review goes live? I believe the one Alfa Romeo we did in the UK, but I'm not sure. Um, I think that's kind of what like got Brian sort of asking people ahead of time if they were all right with a negative review. But I don't know that for sure. So, um, favorite cartoon from when I was little is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of course. Um, hey, you're typically a Mustang guy. What is your opinion on the Coyote S197s? I've noticed there hasn't been a review on those. I would love to get my hands on one because I love the S197. I think it's a very important Mustang. It is the all Mustang. I think it's like the perfect distillation of everything that's good about the Mustang in terms of power, performance, like handling characteristics, appearance, even. Like I love how it looks. But mostly because it's kind of like the next evolution of what Betty looked like, my S95 or SN95. So yeah, I would love to review one of those. Um, Yo, Roman, I love your music so good. You should make more. I plan to. I hope if I get the time to record a Christmas album this year, I would love to do that. Um, do you use Microsoft Word to write your copy, or do you use a specific application designed specifically for writing copy? No, I use uh, Open Office because I was too broke to get like the Microsoft suite. And so I'm just like, screw it. Open Office, same difference. And it's been what I write RCR stuff on for close to a decade now, over a decade. Easy. Have you guys considered Turo or car rentals to review so you can somewhat dictate availability of make and model? I feel like there'd be some kind of like legality involved there of like not being able to actually use it for commercial purposes if we were to rent a car, but I don't know that. It just seems like a tricky area. What's my favorite movie? I love The Godfather Part One. I love Excalibur from 1981. John Borman's Excalibur, and The Empire Strikes Back. Mm, there's so many other movies that I can't think of at the moment, but I'm that's the thing. It's like it's hard for me to ever claim a favorite thing other than video game, which is Final Fantasy VII. I don't like narrowing things down into a favorite thing, I guess, because I have so many favorite things that I can't really do that. Um, all right, 6 minutes left. Do you plan to do more car show type videos? They're some of my fave. I plan to do two more within the next month because I have a bunch of footage that I need to like sort into a compilable video and then come up with jokes because not all of those car show videos are live jokes. Like Brian can do live jokes. I struggle with that. I need to think about it and then dub them in later. But also it's because sometimes there is copyrighted music playing, and so I can't use the actual audio from the show itself. So even if I made a live joke there, I would have to dub it in later, the same joke. Do I have pets? I have two gerbils, Yuki and Saki. They are wonderful. They are a great serotonin dump when I'm feeling low. They're adorable. And let's see. I feel like there are other things that I could talk about, but For now, I guess I'll um not right now because I would have to like go out there. That and like I can't have them both at the same time because they're very skittish. I don't want to drop them. I'm terrified of dropping these beautiful beautiful babies. I didn't actually go to Dunkin' Donuts. This is like a very old Dunkin' Donuts cup that I just held on to so that I could then refill it with like just iced coffee that I make here and give me the mental feeling that I went out and got iced coffee because money. I don't want to pay money. But thankfully, you guys have offered a wonderful coffee fund for this. Are you still traveling to Richmond, Virginia to square dance? I remember you speaking positively about square dancing in the past. I wondered if you still dance. The car show videos are a bonus. I have not been to Richmond, Virginia in over a year. I want to go back desperately. It's about finding time and because in my profession, time is literally money. Like I choose in a way how much like I make in terms of like if I can put out more, if I can do more listings, if I can do more videos. So it's all about getting those things done and wanting to. And I just I really do want to go back to Richmond this year. Um, but yeah, let's see. Uh, what's a car on your want list that hasn't been offered to you yet? Polaris Slingshot. I've wanted to review one of those forever. Also, like a Saab Sonnet, would love it. Would love it. A Hummer. I've always wanted to do a Hummer. We've never been offered a Hummer that I know of. So yeah. You've got $50,000. What's your ideal three-car garage? AMC Eagle, 4x4. C6 Corvette. Because it's $50,000. I can't go wild. And I'd probably go get Red Betty back or another SM95 Mustang just for nostalgia's sake, or even maybe like an S197, which is like the better version of Betty. Yeah. I own a 2012 GT/CS in the Buffalo area if you want to review it. Shoot me an email at regularcarstheroman@gmail.com. Have I seen the new Scott Pilgrim show? No, I have not, unfortunately. Just time issues, I guess. Classic for real. Meaning to visit family in Reading and would love to comprehensively go over my Outback. Sucks and throw in 250X for review. Need to find time and money to make trip from Denver. Well, hey, if you do make that trip, let me know. Let's see if we can like work something out. Yo, Roman, I just stumbled on this, but big RCR fan. Roast my 2018 Honda Accord 6MT. Shoot me the email. Yeah, love you all, but do a thug shake. I have no idea what that is. C6Z06, kind of rough. Clean second gen Forester XT and Honda Beat. I'm assuming that would be your three-car garage. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good garage. I'm not gonna lie. Do I have autism? I mean, I've never been diagnosed, but I don't know that it would surprise me to find out that I did just from like something that I've done. Or some not that I've done that like the way that I behave sometimes. See, like even now, like there are certain things that I don't know. Like that's so far above my pay grade that I have no business answering that at all. That's why YouTube held it for review, I guess. But let's see. Junkyard car reviews. Car auction reviews. Offer college students beer and pizza to do your edits. Just saying. Do you have ADHD? Maybe. I don't know. Again, never been diagnosed, but wouldn't surprise me to find out. All right. Final 30 seconds, because I wanted to get it to a nice round 1 hour, 15 minutes. Not an even number, but close enough. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this little surprise stream. I don't know that I'll throw it up on the podcast channel. Maybe if I remember. I don't know. Uh, it's not a priority for me, unfortunately, but I want to try to give people things that make them happy. And I think some people like listening to these on drives. So if that helps people, then yeah. Um, but for now, I want to thank you all for your super chats. I want to thank you all for your companionship, for basically just being here, supporting RCR, supporting me, allowing me to have a job that I love. And have you ever considered reviewing Doug DeMuro? I did suggest for like one of the years for a car for a Christmas review of reviewing a human man, uh, because every year like Christmas is either something fancy or something weird, but not Doug DeMuro specifically. But I don't know. Anyway, that'll be it for me. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all so, so much. I don't know that I would ever be able to truly quantify how much I really appreciate you all. So thank you for being you, and have a great rest of your week. Have a great week ahead. Take care. There we go.